Anyway, good morning, good morning. Okay, as usual, warming up the spine first. So let's stand with feet hip distance apart. We can sweep the arms forwards and up to a gentle back bend. Please don't strain here. More think about length, length, length into the fingertips. Soften the knees and rain it down. Arms can come up behind you as the legs straighten. And we'll take it forwards and backwards. So this just allows you to go at a pace that you're feeling the spine's ready for. You can be a little bit more vigorous or feel your way through. Depends on your hamstrings and spine this morning. So we're slowly nodding the head forwards and backwards, no flinging. As you lift the arms and stand tall, let's try and take a deep breath in then. Even visualize getting oxygen pumping around the body. Look at a great sunburst energy. Last 2 or 3, your pace. And then thinking about lateral flexion of the spine, that side to side bend, sort of massaging the gel between the discs. So we'll take the legs wide and think about cartwheeling the arms all the way over into a side bend, pausing long enough to get an inner thigh stretch, and then all the way over to the other side. So we keep going side to side. And let's try to avoid collapsing here all the time. Length into the spine, length into those fingertips. Every time we draw a slightly bigger arc overhead. Reach. Shoulders nicely down, jaw soft. Now again, nice deep breath in as we come up. Breath out into the side bend. So let's lift the toes, spread the toes and grip the floor with the feet. So the legs stay active. Okay, then next we'll take like an extended side angle into a twist. Let's start by turning the left toes out to the left. My right toe is still pointing forwards. Let's bend our knee, knee over the ankle. Here's our extended side angle. So we're going to toggle between this position and then turning to that closed twist and looking behind us. So back into this more of an open twist, the chest up to the ceiling, and a side bend, of course, but opening the chest into that closed twist. So let's try and keep the head nice and heavy, no tension in the neck. So if looking up is unhelpful for your neck, just leave the gaze down at the floor. It's all about getting that mobility into the spine. For a deeper twist, we'll take the lunge a little bit deeper, coming a little bit lower down and maybe looking over the shoulder. Last 2 on this side, and then we'll take it to the other side. Maybe the forearm can find its way to the outside of the hip. Maybe not. Maybe on the other leg. Wherever you are, let's take one more on this side. And then coming up, let's just take a moment with both feet in a slight turn out and just find a bit of symmetry in the body and roll out the shoulders. So with the same on the other side, this time the left toes pointing forwards, the right toes turning to face the right wall. Take a bend in the knee, roughly over the ankle, and let's just first of all feel our extended side angle on this side. Avoid collapsing in the shoulder, turn the chest up towards the ceiling and reach. And then we're feeling our way into a twist. So in the first round, maybe we're just looking over the shoulder and feeling that twist up the spine. And each successive one, we might be able to get a little bit more movement into the spine. So here, chest open wide, into the twist. So now slow enough that we can flirt with the edge of our flexibility, but without forcing. Maybe supporting the back in the twist. It's all good strengthening for the waist. Last couple on this side. I know we're loading into the thigh a little bit. We'll give it a little good stretch afterwards. Great. So again, coming to that kind of goddess position with the toes slightly turned up. Have a few bends into the knees, into a wide plie there. So the feet stay on the floor. And then we're going to hula hoop out the hips before we move on. So all the way around. Finding your spot. If it's the front of the thighs, it tends to be your tight spot. Maybe just pausing, tilt the pelvis. You can give it a good rub. Self-massage is great. Helping to coax a bit of softness into the muscles. Let's take those circles in the other direction. So thinking about functional movements, functional patterns in the body, we're going to revisit that walking slowly so that we're engaging all those stabilizing muscles that we need. We also need rotational strength for running and walking. So we'll be thinking about that as well. So if we have weight into one foot and we'll lift the other knee, bending the standing knee and stepping back into a lunge. So slow motion requires a lot of stability in the body. And this rotational strength here, you can see, because when we're walking, obviously what we're doing now is massively exaggerating what we're doing in running or walking movements. But if we slow it down, how strengthening we can become, the movement becomes. So I'd like you to think about when you step back into that lunge, we're pausing long enough. Here the hip flexors are contracting, really firing up in this lifted position. As we step back, we want to try and lengthen. So almost like pulling the ribs out of the hips, leaning back slightly with the pelvic tilt so that then they get that opposition, the stretch, the counter, the stretch. So see if you can feel both ends here. Strong contraction, so the knee will lift as high as it can go. And then getting the maximum stretch, release. Think release rather than stretch. So the heels going to the back wall, back leg straight, bottom tucking, so the tailbone pointing towards the floor. So you might be able to start to feel a little bit of warmth in that standing ankle. But again, all strengthening, so whether we're walking or we're runners, the ground is rarely even. So having that strength in the ankle to support us is all good. I'm going to get us to change legs before we add on an extra exercise, because I reckon if I need to shake out that leg that you've been standing on. So give it a good old shake, and then we'll take it to the other side. So again, we're taking weight into one leg and we're lifting. So the other knee lifts as high as it will go. Then your standing leg bend, step back, and then find that extension on the front of the hip. So we're exaggerating the arms as well, just because it's strengthening. And we'll find that quiet, slow, controlled movement in and out of the knee lift into the lunge. So if you know that hip flexors are tight for you, you probably want to pause a little bit longer in this position and just breathe into the front of the hip. Want to avoid arching the spine here. Chest wide open. You can always tap the toe down on the floor halfway, so it's a midway point. And find a steadiness to your breath. And notice at which point in this movement there's maybe a bit of momentum or a little bit of a jerk. And then really focus on that part and see if you can find a bit more steadiness in the transition. So when you're stepping back, the back leg is straight. So we're getting lengthening in the front of the hip. Just have some consideration to how long we spend sitting down in any given day. So how much extra nurture we need into the front of the thigh. Let's have one last one on this side. If there's any consolation, the ankle, my standing leg is screaming a little bit. Obviously, any pain, do stop. You know when to take a break. And then let's shake out that leg. Really well done. So we're going to go back to the first leg, and I'm going to add on a little bit of a twist. So there we go, standing. So we're standing on this leg. The first leg, the leg that's the ankle that's throbbing, will come into a lift. And then as you step back, we prepared this twist in the extended side angle. See if you can turn over that front leg, back leg straight. Come center, come into that marching lift, and then stepping back into a twist. So here we're targeting a stretch for that hip, the bottom cheek of that front leg, and also that mobility in the spine, that rotational stretch we're talking about for running. Because we've already perhaps reached the point of fatigue on this leg, we're just going to do one more on this side and then we'll switch. Stepping back and taking a little bit of a turn, feeling a stretch in the hip, back leg straight. And then come out of it, other side. So let's walk the knee forwards. Soften your standing leg, step back, hip flexor stretch, and then we turn and we're leaning forwards into this, so it's a stretch across the hip, maybe looking back. Stepping forwards. So not too many reps on this side, and then we'll be moving on. To the point where there's maybe a challenge for the balance, we're going to find something static for the gaze. Here's a real challenge for the balance where we take this lunge twist and make the next one our last. Shoulders relax, jaw relax, no clenching of the teeth. Here's our last one, and then we'll shake out the legs. We'll take a kind of sun salutation, so it's only come into a lunge position and continue to work and stretch those leg muscles. So when you're ready, if you come to the front of your space, I'm going to lower this down. You may lose my head, but you're used to that. That's fine, isn't it? All right. So standing at the front of your space, let's take a deep breath in, a real recovery breath, reaching overhead. And then as we breathe out, let's fold all the way down. Hold the ankles and pause for a moment. First proper hamstring stretch we're taking. If you can reach the floor, feel free to stand on your hands. It's quite a nice massage for the wrists. Otherwise, you can use this forward fold to squeeze the calf muscles, the hamstrings, and just let the breath guide you down towards the floor without forcing. Okay, I'm going to get you to step your right foot back, lower the knee, and this left foot, just walk it out to the left edge of your mat, hold the knee and draw big circles so the sole of the foot will lift. So we're finding a gentle circling, bit of work for the stabilizers of the ankle, knee, the hip joints working, those muscles there, all the way around. And let's take those circles in the other direction. And again, if the fronts of the thighs are a little bit tight for you, just give them a good squeeze and coax a little bit of softening and length there. We're going to take almost like a yin stretch, a held stretch here now. We're going to rest on this front thigh. If you're feeling your hip flexors of the extended leg are already soft, you can knee and toe the back leg a little bit further away. But we're going to rest for 6 breaths, hanging. You have as much support into the hands as you wish, but we're looking for softness and length in the front of the thigh, that extended leg. And trying to breathe into the front of this front thigh, so the hip flexors, even if the tendency is to fire up, We're working on deep breaths in and out of the nose and holding it so long that the muscles will start to relax. We've probably got another 3 breaths. Where possible, try to extend that exhalation. Make it even just 1 or 2 counts longer than your inhalation. We can drop the head. Let's not think about alignment now. That can be part of the body where it draws you down, no forcing. And now we're going to slowly push the hips back, step back so that we're on all fours and we're coming down to the belly. So if you want to come up through a chaturanga flow, that's great as well. So on your belly, I think I'm going to disappear altogether. On your belly, place the hands out in front of you, a little bend in the elbows. And we're going to use the breath to rise up in a gentle cobra lift. So from this position, arms out a little bit in front of you, chin tucked into the neck. Now press the hands into the floor and forwards and look up. Now from this lifted position, drag your hands as if towards your body, like your chest is being pulled forward, strengthening the back and release down. So it's a pressure into the floor to come up onto the hands and lift the upper body. And then a pressure down through the heels of the hands and towards the body to lengthen the spine. So think about lengthening from your pubic bone right up to the crown of the head by dragging the chest forward, diagonally up and release down. Just 3 more of these, pressing up. If you feel you want to keep your elbows on the floor, that's fine. Otherwise, try to come into the lift, shoulders back and down, draw your chest forward like you're desperate to see something on the front edge of your mat. That pulling action. Couple more. Any niggles in your wrist, change the angle of your hands. Shouldn't be any pulling on tendons. And if necessary, make fists. That will work just as well. So the fists pointing inwards. Let's go for one last one. Pressing up, shoulders back and down. Now lengthen the spine like you're desperately trying to draw your chest forwards. And then release down. Hands under the shoulders. We'll take our first down dog. Send the hips high and back. Brilliant. Now let's just pedal through half speed. So one leg is straight heel towards the floor. So you get a real stretch into the calf muscle of that extended leg, of the straight leg. Flat at the back and feel length along the spine. And then switch to the other foot. So your bent knee leg can lift off. So we add extra weight into that calf stretch. Or you can leave the toes on the floor. Just breathing into it, feeling length in the back of the leg and along the spine. And then we're lifting both heels high, bending the knees, and let's set the right foot to the front. Pause in that runner lunge, shake out the head, circling, and then we're stepping to the front, and then we have the same to the other side. Let's roll up through the spine, open the arms wide, taking a deep breath in, and breathing out, let's lower the hands. Left side, take a deep breath in, open the chest, reach into the fingers, and then breathing out, pressing the air down. Again, we're pausing in our forward fold. Massage out wherever it's tight. Hamstrings, calf muscles, shake out the head. Here, no tightness in the jaw. So knee lunge, it's the left foot stepping back, and we'll take those hip circles. Step the left foot back, and the right foot, we can walk out a little bit towards the right edge of the mat, and then we're finding that circling action. So the heel, we're just pivoting on the heel of the foot, the toes, the ball of the foot completely free, so that we're not forcing any of this circle. Feeling aware. And let's take those circles in the other direction before we take that held stretch, which for some may be a lizard lunge. We may come all the way down onto the forearms, but with the yin, it's very much more about passive stretching, much more effective softening of the muscles. So with the hands on the floor or either side of the front knee, we're coming to a point where we can relax a little bit into the stretch. Now, if this is too tight on the hip flexors, that leg, you draw the knee in a little bit. Otherwise, guide it away. So make it your own. Find what level of stretch is just nice, but without forcing. And then 6 breaths. We've already started, and maybe 5 by now. Rocking side to side, if that helps you to find softness in the body. If possible, resting the head down so that we're not creating unnecessary tension in the neck, jaw. And just notice if there's any particular muscular effort going on here in the hips. Are we still trying to protect? Or can we soften and release? Just breathe out and let softening, lengthening come into the muscles. So think about the distance between the knees, this front knee almost charging forwards and finding space in the pelvis, the front of the hip. Let's have one more breath on this side. And then we're coming into those cobra positions. So hands on the floor, step your right foot back and lower yourself to the floor. From our belly, this time we're going to have the fingertips out wide in line with the shoulders. Forehead to the floor, long legs. Press the pubic bone into the floor and we'll take 6 lifts. Pressing the fingers into the floor and feeling the shoulder blades come together. Keep the shoulder blades squeezed together as we lower. Now think about a corset all the way around your body. So as we feel that strength between the shoulder blades, also see if you can knit your front ribs together. Very easy, you can probably notice, to flare the ribs at this point. So keeping everything zipped in tightly. Try to avoid any jerking. Doesn't matter how high, just think about length and closing that, zipping that corset in around the torso. One more here. And then hands under the shoulders. We'll take it down dog, pedaling it through, turning the head, shaking the head. And then with both heels towards the floor, we're going to sway the hips side to side, not all the way into a side plank, but just to get a gentle outer hip stretch. We can do this by separating the feet, so the feet become stacked, and dropping the hips side to side. Even yourself out. Come center, lift the heels, bend the knees, and step your left foot to the front. Pause in that runner lunge. Soften through the neck, through the hips, and let's come to the front. Rolling up through the spine, take a deep breath in. Stretch overhead, stretch the fingers wide. And then come all the way down. Great. Time for the mat. Come all the way down to the mat. We're going to roll back, roll up, spine stretch. So we're just getting a nice gentle flow, but strengthening flow through the whole body. So make sure you have space to roll back. Take a moment to move the flesh away so we can sit up really tall. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, hinging forwards from the hips as far as you can go. And then sitting back up tall, shoulders back and down, and one vertebra at a time, lowering down to the mat. Nice softness across the chest. Try to keep the chin still slightly tucked in towards the neck. And almost like catching a wave. As soon as your head hits the floor, again, curl up, chin into the chest. Reach for something beyond the toes. Try and keep the toes pointing up to the ceiling. Breathing out into your spine stretch. Enjoy the flow of this, because after the next one, we're taking those reverse curls so we target the strength for the lower abdominals. We've got a nice viewpoint here of the feet, so we can keep that nice alignment through the body, toes pointing up to the ceiling. So you're ready. The next time we roll back, we'll take a reverse curl. So when we roll back, we'll bend the knees, draw the feet in, and even if the hips just come up a millimeter, this is all lower abdominal strength. Bend the knees, and take a little bit of a up, lift. You can press the arms into the floor, definitely the shoulders that we're not rounding. And let's just see if we can find a little bit of a lift in the hips. Just shoulder blades close to the spine. If you're finding the shoulders are just jumping up, try to start with the upper arms on the floor, elbows and shoulders pressed in. Feel that work into the triceps. Lower your forearms and keep that strength, the whole of the arm pressed into the floor, and then add a little lift. So we can have a little bit of momentum here, but with that mindfulness in keeping the chin tucked into the chest and trying to keep the shoulders down towards the floor. So not only are we toning those lower abdominals, but you should quite quickly feel a little bit of warmth into your triceps. Keep going. Now, I like to make fists here with the fingers pointing in towards each other here and press the fists into the floor. I can then really feel it into the triceps and I can more readily keep my shoulders from jumping up. Last two here. Amazing. Lower your left foot to the floor, right leg up to the ceiling, or the hands up the leg. Then curl head, neck, and shoulders all the way up to the foot. Extend the arms, and let's just reach for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch legs. Hamstring stretch, and ready, curling up for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a full body stretch, bring your legs out wide, your arms out wide, roll your head side to side, softening the jaw. We need to stretch out the triceps and the thighs. So let's have one big stretch here. And then into a quick mermaid stretch for the hips. So the knees, black mat, you can't see anything, can you? Legs out to the right here. And we're going to turn. You're looking for a stretch in the hip. And just come down onto the forearms and look over your shoulder. By squeezing the glutes and getting a twist, lifting this hip, we'll get a gentle, a little bit of a release in the hip. Take a breath or two here before we go to the other side. Great. And with the knees up, just shake them side to side and then over to the other side. Take that twist in the spine, look over your shoulder, come onto the forearms, and then work as much of a stretch into this hip as you need by sending the hip up to the side wall. Get your fingers in there if they're a little bit tight. And then just focus on the breath. Slowly come up. Let's have the right foot on the left side, the outside of the knee. Hold the knee and we'll take a twist. You can put the elbow on the outside of the knee to rotate through the spine. And take a breath here. Just try and lengthen through the spine with the in-breath. And with the out-breath, maybe easing yourself around just a little bit. Other side, then triceps, and we're all done. Foot on the outside of the knee. You can hold the knee. Let's try and keep both sit bones on the floor. Taking that twist through the spine. Back fingers for support rather than any weight going into the fingers. You can smile now, know your hard work's done. Lengthen, feel the ribs lifting out of the pelvis, wring out the waist. Last breath on this side. And then release. Legs out in front of you. Give them a shake, rocking from the one bottom cheek to the other, letting the feet fall side to side. Any comfortable position, let's lift the right arm, bend at the elbow, and guide the elbow up to the ceiling. and look for a stretch in your triceps. Try to get the shoulders down. You can lean a little bit away to the side. And then the other arm. If you can, lean your head back into the forearm so that we're not letting the head hang, and try and set the tone for the rest of the day with a nice alignment to the body. That's it. Have a few rolls of the shoulders. Have a little swing around and stay on the core for a chat.